The Goat House is back with my favorite picks and locks for NFL Week 14 here every Thursday with this video, but plenty other videos up covering each week of the NFL. But let's break down my picks. My locks against the spread, a little bold because I like quite a few of them this week. Starting with the Saints minus 4.5, they're taking on the Giants. The Giants are on a 7-game losing streak against the spread, so that should help the Saints cover that 4.5. But also the Giants look like the worst team in football right now. They are awful stopping the run. That's what the Saints love to do. They like to, want to come in there, pound the football, control the clock. They'll do that with Alvin Kamara. Darren Rizzi also got these guys with the Saints playing a lot better, a lot more physical. So I like them. Steelers minus 6.5 might seem risky because 6.5 is a decent amount of points, and they're playing the Browns. They just lost to the Browns 2 weeks ago, but there's a couple reasons for that. The weather was a big-time factor, but the Steelers consistently lose away primetime games, especially on Thursday night, especially against division rivals under Mike Tomlin. It's like the one bad thing under Mike Tomlin. They are home in this game. They want revenge. They were salty after that last game. They're the far better team at home. I think they get that revenge. And they are actually, believe it or not, on a 20-game winning streak under Mike Tomlin at home against the Cleveland Browns. That is pretty crazy there. And Mike Tomlin also with the Steelers has not gone 0-2 against the same quarterback. So will Jameis Winston go 2-0 against Steelers? The trends to say no, absolutely not. So Steelers not only should win, but I like them to take care of business at home and win by a good amount of points. The Miami Dolphins, minus 5.5 against the Jets. The Jets season was kind of already lost, but it was kind of the dagger last week. The morale's got to be completely down. The Dolphins were rolling. Came up short, obviously, against the Packers away in the cold. They're at home in this game. They're the favorable one in the matchup here. I think Devon Achane has a big-time game. Tua, believe it or not, is 4-0 against the Jets, and when they are favored by this amount or more with Tua on the field, they are very successful against the spread. Very successful. So I like them to cover the spread here against the Jets. And I like the Raiders if you can get them at plus 7.5 against the Buccaneers. The Raiders played better with Aiden O'Connell last week. The Bucs have an awful pass defense, so he should have success through the air. And the Raiders pass rush went to work against the Chiefs last week, and also the Buccaneers struggled to protect Baker against the Panthers pass rush. So I think the Raiders could be really sneaky. I'm not going to predict them to win, but I think they could win. It should stay close. And one that I'm leaning is the Bengals minus 5.5. Hard to trust the Bengals defense to cover that, but they should perform well against the Cowboys. So we're on a 4-game winning streak with these spread locks. A little bit riskier this week picking this many, but I do pick every game against the spread and give you a score prediction in our recent score predictions video. The thumbnail looks like that right up there. The straight up locks of the week, so some ones that we just talked about. Again, the Steelers are on a 20-game winning streak against the Browns in Pittsburgh, and Mike Tomlin also, again, does not go 0-2 against quarterback, drop to 0-2 against quarterbacks, and they're already 0-1. Steelers are the better team. They're at home. They want revenge. They're going to win that game. My favorite one's going to be the Eagles. I know the Panthers are playing a lot better right now, but it's a brutal, brutal matchup for Carolina because they are god-awful stopping the run. The Eagles are the best in football at doing that. Eagles also have a really stout defense, a little bit more of a test for Bryce Young, and the Panthers offense is also in Philly. Saquon's going to go bonkers against that run defense. The Dolphins, again, 2-4-0 against the Jets. The Jets' morale, their momentum, it's got to be all lost at this point. It's in Miami. They seem to do very well when favored by the amount that they are favored by, 5.5 or more to win the game straight up. So that looks fantastic for Miami. And I'll go with the Bengals. I think they close this one out on Monday Night Football. The Cowboys just don't have, because the Bengals have been losing games while scoring a ton of points, and they should be able to score that amount of points against the Cowboys, but the Cowboys just do not have that offensive firepower. They'll have a little bit, but to outscore the Bengals in a shootout. The past few teams that they have played have the capabilities of doing that, so not the Bengals. So we have our weekly pick show for Week 14 up already. It's a lot of fun, a lot of laughs, and just a lot of fun talking football, so check that out. Over-under lock, I'm going to go with Seattle and Arizona, under 44.5. Don't forget to subscribe, like, turn notifications on, full NFL coverage here, loads of videos. But, the last time they played, which was 2 weeks ago, the final was 16-6, so the under Obviously, it crushed the under. Now, I think there'll be more scoring this time, but I'm trying to figure out how it's as high as 44.5. So, a Seattle game last week surprisingly went over. I mean, special teams touchdowns, defensive touchdowns. So again, I think a little more scoring than last time, but I don't see with the inconsistency of these two offenses and how good these two defenses are playing, it really should not go over that 44.5 points. I had a 19-17 final, and I think that's even pushing it a little bit. So that would be my favorite total lock of the week. Minnesota-Atlanta over was tempting, but which Vikings defense is going to show up and which Falcons offense is going to show up. A little bit of mystery in that one, so I just went with this one only this week. Few parlays that I love, and I'm always giving last-second picks, more picks on our Twitter/X, link pinned in the comments for that, but a little bit of a parlay that we hit on last week that I like this week. The Dolphins -2.5, so you bump that down. The Steelers -1.5 and the Saints -1.5, and that is actually +217. So I feel really good about that. All three of those teams should clear that line easily, but when pairing it together, maybe you want to be a little safer and drop those lines down a little bit. How about an Eagles parlay here? Eagles just to beat the Panthers should happen. They're favored by a lot. Saquon over 113.5 rushing yards. Yes, that is a ridiculous amount, but Saquon is ridiculous. He's going for that MVP. He is playing the worst run defense in football. I mean, Bucky Irving cleared this line easily last week. A lot of players are clearing this line easily against the Panthers, and Saquon is the best in football, and he is going for that MVP. He's going to get a touchdown too, so if you pair those three together, you go 136. And I like the Saints one a lot. I mean, the odds on this are good, +225. Saints to beat the Giants. Sure, it could be a little sketchy in New York, but they should hang on to that game. The Giants are playing awful right now, and they are especially awful. We just saw the Panthers against the run. The Giants are awful against the run. So Kamara just to get 80 yards. He cleared that line against the Rams last week. He's going to do that, and I think he'll score. Taysom Hill is out. That increases Kamara's chances, and he has increased chances as it is because he can score touchdowns, quite a bit of them, and because he can do it on the ground and through the air. That is +225. That one I love. I mean, it's worth throwing a few bucks on for sure. So I have some more ideas that will be cooking up, on our Twitter, on our X there. So make sure you follow us there. But I really, really like these ones this week. Feel really good about these. I always love the 3-game parlays. It worked last week. So the Dolphins, Steelers, Saints should take care of business to help us win that one. My absolute favorite anytime touchdown picks. And again, more props last second leading up to the games, whatever. It's on our X. Make sure to follow that. But Barkley's going to score against the weak Panthers run defense because he probably rip off a long touchdown run, and he's going for that MVP. The Eagles probably want him to get that MVP. Alvin Kamara going against that weak Giants run defense with Taysom Hill. Kamara should score. James Cook, been a touchdown machine. He has that ability to score through the air, not just on the ground, but through the air. He has that explosive home run ability, and the Rams are kind of struggling against the run right now. Look what Barkley and Kamara did to them. So I like James Cook. And Devon Achane definitely has that best opportunity for the Dolphins of going against the Jets. He'll be that problem for the Jets. They have a pretty decent defense, but dealing with Achane on the ground and through the air because he's that dual threat type guy, that'll be a problem. He should score. Other touchdowns that I like, but those are my absolute favorites. And my absolute favorite when it comes to plus options, Deebo Samuel +170 against the Bears, both starting running backs. And that matters for Deebo. You guys know why, because Deebo carries the football. But both the two top running backs, I should say, CMC and Jordan Mason out. Isaac Guerendo, he should score too. I really like him as well. But Deebo will get some carries. He also has that opportunity to score through the air. Obviously as a reception leading for a touchdown, ends up a touchdown. But the Bears are really struggling against the run. I think Deebo has his opportunities there. And then Brock Bowers seems pretty good at +165. The Raiders do have multiple options, but he's by far the best option. And the Bucs pass defense is brutal. So, and Aiden O'Connell balled out last week, especially linking up with Brock Bowers. So he should also find the end zone, but those ones are a little riskier than the other ones. Obviously, it's why they're plus options. But we've been on fire when I pick my absolute, I end up tweeting it out, to my absolute favorite plus option. We've been on a big streak. So if I had to pick one, Deebo or Brock Bowers, I'll decide on Twitter, but both those look good. I'm almost leaning Bowers right now just because that Bucs pass defense. And yeah, Deebo has some opportunities to score, but Guerendo could take all the touchdowns. That's also a possibility. But those ones, they both look pretty good. If you wanted single leg bets right there, just throw a couple bucks on them. They look pretty good. It's conference championship week for college football. I'm excited. We're 9-1 on the season when picking a college football lock. I think that's pretty damn impressive. I'm going with the Oregon Ducks, -3.5 in the Big Ten title game against Penn State. We picked Oregon as a lock one week. They helped us out, of course, beating and covering against Michigan. When Ohio State was on the brink of losing that game last week, and I realized it's going to be Oregon and Penn State, I'm like, what is that line going to be? I'm thinking 7.5, around that range, 6.5 at the at the lowest, and it ends up being 3.5. I think that line is way too low. I love the Oregon Ducks covering that spread against a good Penn State team who has some studs on their team. And Tyler Warren is one of the biggest mismatch threats in college football. And Singleton obviously can fly. He's a very solid running back. And on defense, they have multiple studs, but Abdul Carter, the one that stands out. But Oregon, to me, is much better than Penn State this year. They're the best team in football. I think there's only a couple teams that have a chance to beat the Oregon Ducks. They're going to strictly game plan on offense for Tyler Warren, slowing him down, and I think they'll be pretty successful. I mean, they're not going to stop him. He'll be productive. He'll probably score a touchdown, but Oregon, with that defense, they'll do a good job trying to slow him down and make Penn State beat them in other ways. And when Penn State tried to do that, I know Singleton was pretty damn good throughout the year, but there's so many consecutive stalled out offensive drives for Penn State, like for them to kind of get going and come back and get things going. Again, Tyler Warren was the key guy, their star tight end. But there's a lot of moments throughout the year where I have not been that impressed with their offense, and Oregon's got a really good defense. I'll actually take a step further, and I think they have the best defensive line in all of college football. Offensively, they can win with the pass. Dylan Gabriel, those receivers, they can win with the running game. They have a duo at the running back position, a good offensive line. But again, I really like their defense in a game like this. I think they win by at least 10 points in this game. I think we could see an ass beating, and now Penn State goes out there and wins the game. I look like an idiot, but we've been doing pretty good job with the college football picks. I'm really confident with the best team in football here, Oregon. And Penn State, they haven't really been tested a ton for this game. I know they played Ohio State. They played them pretty close. I don't think Ohio State was as good as everyone thought. Obviously, they're a really good football team. Penn State's a really good football team. They didn't have to play Oregon during the year. They didn't have to play Indiana. They struggled here and there with some teams. USC really recently against Minnesota. They easily could have lost that game. They didn't. Minnesota's a little sneaky. They're a better team than people think, but Oregon's a different animal. What makes them so good is the balance. They can win in so many different ways. I think their D-line's a massive factor in this game. I don't think Penn State scores enough points to win a game like this, even though it could be a little more defensive. So I like Oregon in this one, -3.5. I actually love that. Love them. I have more picks plus a parlay for our Twitter subscribers. We really did well with it last week with our picks against the spread. Only missed one, and we hit our parlay last week as well. So I'll be pairing Oregon with somebody else for a parlay and a couple. I know there's not a long list of games because it's conference championship week, but we're going to keep rolling throughout the bowl games, throughout the playoff. I'm sure there's going to be picks that I absolutely love. So make sure to check out our Twitter, subscribe if you want to there for some bonus bets and more. But that'll wrap it up for the NFL Week 14 locks and, of course, the Oregon Duck lock here, the college football locks of the week. Check out all of our content. We got loads of it every single week. Like, subscribe, turn notifications on. It's going to do it for this one. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.